Right, they've been arriving by email. The value of the fine is £50. Now, we don't have the names, the identities of the individuals that have been fined. You'll remember that the Metropolitan Police on Wednesday said that they were fining in the region, on Tuesday, fining in the region of 20, issuing about 20 different fines. Now, we do understand that some of these fines were connected to an event on the 18th of June 2020. Now, that was the leaving do of a senior, high-profile number 10 official. Now, at that kind of event, you can imagine all sorts of senior figures, particularly from the civil service, likely to have dropped in on that event. So there could be some relatively senior officials as well as potentially more junior ones at that event. The police appear to be pursuing a strategy of picking off the low-hanging fruit, those people who perhaps filled in their questionnaires and admitted that they were breaching the rules put in place to try and curb COVID at the height of the pandemic, which these events seem to have been in breach of. But the police not yet issuing fines to high-profile political figures, as far as we know, or people who might contest what happens. It does appear as if the police are in discussions with the Crown Prosecution Service, who would have to put up a lawyer if any of these individuals appealed the decision, and then it would all end up in a magistrate's court. Those cases, more difficult cases, well, frankly, those fines haven't been decided or issued by the police. But the first fines for the easier cases do appear to have been landing by email earlier today.
And Sam, the question, of course, how it could have taken so long for us to get to this stage where £50 fines are being handed out.
That's right. And it has been complicated for the police. And I think when the CPS go through with the police how this investigation has ended up in the state that it is, there'll be lots of questions like, why did it take so long for the police to get involved in the first place when there was clear evidence potentially of a breach in the rules that was ignored by the police? There'll be questions about whether those questionnaires that have been issued to more than 100 people soliciting information about what went on in Whitehall at the height of the pandemic were the right way to proceed. Really, the CPS's job is to sort of dot the I's and cross the T's to make sure that there's no chance, if they can possibly prevent it, of an appeal being successful. As it were, the CPS have to do due diligence on the police's work, and that began only belatedly, I understand. It wasn't, the CPS weren't consulted at the start of the investigation in quite the way that some thought it should have been, but now the CPS are going through how the police have done their investigation, potentially have the power to direct them to do a bit more work to copper bottom the case before the fines are issued. That, I think, is the reason why this is taking longer than many expected.